Hello, Gold Derbyites! Welcome back to another edition of Awards Magnet. I'm Deputy Editor Ethan Alter, joined as always by our stellar film team, Senior Editors Mia McNeese and Kevin Sullivan. As the Goonies would say, hey, you guys. Welcome. I just lost everyone under the age of 40 with that one, but I'll keep practicing my 80s material.
I should have had my Superman shirt ready to go.
All right. Well, last week in this space, we talked about Best Picture. We broke down the 10 nominees in the Best Picture category, giving our takes on the narratives that could drive each one to victory. This week, we're going to do a similar thing for the acting categories. We've got the two lead actor categories and the supporting actor categories, which is a really it's a really great mix of nominees this year. I think definitely interesting race. Last year, going in, we sort of knew it was a case where the three of the races were pretty well known, and Best Actress was the toss-up. I think this year we're kind of reversed, where Best Actress seems pretty set, and the other three races are a toss-up. So there should be some interesting conversations to be had. How are you feeling? Both feeling that way about the acting categories this year?
Yeah, I equally think there's like such a great mix. I mean, I love all the women in this Best Actress and Supporting Actress category. They all just gave such strong, different, vulnerable performances. It would be hard for me, if I had to pick just one, it would be hard for me to do, although I think there are some, as you mentioned, some front runners in the Best Actress category for sure. And same with in the Supporting Actor and Actor category. Such a wide range and, fun group of people too, some of them.
Yeah, I mean, we've got great performances to talk about here. It's not for, we're not lacking for good options. It's been interesting to see these races kind of shape up in the lead up to the Golden Globes, when I think it really kind of snapped into focus a little bit more. But yeah, I think there's still some room for some surprises.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with the category that I think is everyone is sort of assuming is luck, which is Best Actress. There we have Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, who's been basically the front runner in our odds and in everyone's hearts and minds, basically since Hamnet debuted back in Telluride, way back in September. So it's a long time to be the front runner. But so far, the people who have sort of come at her haven't successfully made a case completely. Although Rose Byrne has won a number of precursor awards along the way. So let's look at where things stand now on the Best Actress list. So we still have Jessie Buckley very much out in front. Who, in your mind, is the number two, Mia? What's your most apparent number two?
Yeah, I think Rose is the number two for sure. Especially after winning the Golden Globe, her performance in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is just getting critical acclaim. It's winning awards. It's an amazing performance by her. So I do think she is a close second, but like you said, Jessie won the Golden Globe and she won the Critics' Choice Awards and the London Critics Film Circle, and she's just been, winning award after award for this performance in Hamnet, and I think she's still going to be really hard to beat. But I loved Rose in that film, and I think she, is deserving of everything she got, but I think this is Jessie's year.
Yeah, I think that one of the major leg ups she has over Rose is just the type of movie she's in. Hamnet is probably the closest we have to a really traditional Oscar movie, in a sense that is slightly aged at this point, but it is this big, serious, emotional period piece that really asks a lot of Jess Buckley, and she does an amazing job. And so I think, in a year where some of the frontrunners are pretty surprising, kind of off kilter, this is the movie and the performance that feels right within the Oscar wheelhouse.
It's also the two female performances that deal with motherhood and the struggles of that in very different ways. But as far as the other ones, Emma's dealing with a whole other sort of thing, and Kate and Renan. But Jessie and Buckley's stories, I think, kind of resonate with a lot of viewers, as well as just the struggles that you go through, when you're dealing with kids.
I almost want to see what would happen if they did give it to Emma Stone. Like, would she flee the theater? Considering how much she didn't seem to want her second one, when I wonder if she was just if she would be wondering if this was some kind of conspiracy. Outside of Rose, I kind of have a hard time seeing any upset here.
It'll be like a Ving Rhames of the Golden Globes moment where you kind of
Just
like she'll call up Jesse Buckley and be like, "Here, Jesse, you take it. I can't take another one of these, please. No space in my house anymore."
Yeah.
It's funny. The one person I would make the case for, because I have heard this being floated, this could be a Kate Hudson year as the one the one musical nominee, and also the legacy of sort of veteran Hollywood personality. She's the offspring of famous parents, Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn. They've been very involved on her campaign circuit. She's been very present. She's been working hard for this for the nomination and also for the win. I've definitely seen her, and she was very at the New York premiere, greeted all the well-wishers, and it's just been, and has campaigned hard for it, and it resulted in a nomination. So there is a sense that Song Sung Blue represents the sort of middle America pick in the same way along the lines of Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side, and maybe that's the counter to these sort of intense, heavy. Even though Song Sung Blue also has its intense and heavy moments, but it does sort of appeal to a very different demographic. So that's part of the thing that's been in the back of my mind. Could we see the combination of Kate Hudson's status in the industry and this being the desire to reward a different kind of film than the sort of standard prestige picture or the small indie New York favorite in the case of Rose Byrne? Any thoughts on that? How do you feel about the Hudson factor in the race?
I don't know how much it plays into when you think about the Academy voters and the international voters. I mean, we all love Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, but I don't know if the Academy voters are really going to put too much emphasis on, kind of the legacy that she has when they're actually voting for the best performance of the year.
The one counter there could be, as someone said, Jamie Lee Curtis a few years ago for Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she was against Stephanie Hsu for that film as well, and it seemed like they're just her status in the industry, the not to use the term nepo baby, not to throw that around, but that did come up in conversation when she did win. There was that sense that she only got it because of who her parents were. So that sometimes does come into play. It seems, at least around the conversations of who wins these things sometimes.
Yeah, the whole Kate Hudson theory is something that I've seen kind of put forward by people who are more in tap with the kind of the dark whisper network of these FYC events, and as someone who's mostly concerned with precursors, and the film itself, I haven't seen what they've heard in front of me, and so these are people who do know the Academy really well. These are really experienced reporters. So I have to admit, I have to acknowledge that there's probably some truth to it, but in terms of precursors and just the movie as evidence of itself, I don't know. I don't really see it.
The one really interesting X factor too is the presence of Renat Rensiv from Sentimental Value. As that film got nominated, all the actors from that film, from the core ensemble, got nominated, so she's in the mix there. But in terms of an important precursor, with the actor awards coming up, she's not nominated there. So we almost don't have that to go by in terms of determining how she could fare at the Oscars. Is there, in your mind, a chance that because of the love surrounding that film, she has a solid shot, or is it more she should be happy with the nomination?
I think this is a case where you say the nomination was enough. Like, I'm so happy to have gotten the nomination, and that is enough. I mean, I was surprised by how much the Academy loved the film. Not that I didn't enjoy the film too. It was like one, they kept calling names out one after another, which is amazing. But I still think she has a tough road ahead of her to beat Jessie and or Rose.
Yeah, I think the way that it was nominated, really kind of across the board, Sentimental Value does, I think, have some potential to be a spoiler somewhere, and I think it's just a kind of a question of where. I think Stellan's kind of late break favorite status is the strongest case it has going for it right now, but I'm still kind of haunted by that best editing nomination of like there is just so much love for this movie. Where will it show up that we aren't expecting? And that is something I'm watching pretty closely.
In terms of a category or overview, it's interesting. We have, in this case, we have two first-time nominees, Rose Byrne and Renat. The first time they've been nominated for an Oscar at all. We have two former Best Supporting Actress nominees in the forms of Jessie Buckley, who was nominated for The Lost Daughter, and Kate Hudson, who was nominated for Almost Famous. And then, as we mentioned earlier, the returning champ, Emma Stone. So it's a wide mix of nominees this time, and that's an interesting way to look at it in terms of who you can't really say one's more deserving than the other in that respect. It really is going to come down to the performance and who the voters ultimately prefer, I think, in this case.
Yeah, I also think Jessie Buckley's previous nomination is maybe a good case to see her as a winner. I think the way she's picking projects, the kind of how quickly she's come on the scene in her nominations, the Academy just may want to be avoiding another Amy Adams situation. We're just like, she's gonna get it sometime. Let's not make Jessie Buckley do Hillbilly Elegy 2, trying to get the Oscar down the line. But yeah, I think she's someone who we're going to see a lot of around these conversations in years to come, and I think this might just be the role for her.
I think one could also argue Rose's performance is so singular. It's so focused on her, a lot of her face. I mean, really, Jessie, plays off of Paul Mescal, and in Sentimental Value, it's these two sisters, and Emma Stone has Jesse Plemons, and Kate Hudson has Hugh Jackman. So there's like kind of a balance of screen time and who you're playing off of. But like, if I had legs, I'd kick you. It's Rose. It's a lot of Rose, a lot of all the time. And so I don't know if voters will be kind of swayed by that as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because certainly the most prominent person who she's paired with is her daughter, and you never see the daughter's face on screen, which is one of the really interesting conceits of that movie. So yeah, no, she has to play so much of it just on her own with the camera right here the whole time. And so it's a lot. It's a high wire act to do.
Well, her co-star is hosting. Are we not worried about conflict of interest here? Like, this is.
Oh, Conan! He's just he'll be the one. He'll take Emma's Oscar and give it to Rose.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him host as someone who was in a nominated movie but not nominated himself. I'm sure he'll take that with grace and not make any comments about that at all.
No. Conan make a joke about himself? Never.
No.
The joke writes itself. Yeah.
It is funny too, actually. Jessie will be in front and center in everyone's mind, because The Bride, her reunion with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who directed Lost Daughter, is going to be out in theaters the weekend before the Oscars, which is really interesting timing. I think by then voting will have closed, so it won't necessarily impact where how votes can be cast. But certainly, it's always you're always afraid of the Norbit factor in these cases, where you have a big next movie come out just as you're about to potentially win an Oscar. And that movie, certainly, there's been a lot of eyeballs on it. Talk about like what it's going to ultimately be. The trailers look very cool and promising. I'm very curious to see what it turns out to be, but I do wonder, it'll be interesting to see like how people react to that, and then right before she potentially wins an Oscar the following week.
Yeah, when's that embargo lift? I'm sure that is a high stakes conversation that they're having.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to imagine that was part of the talk in the Warner Brothers room. Okay, when do we put this out in theaters? when will it not get in the way of the Hamnet Oscar campaign? Well, along those lines, this will let us jump to Best Supporting Actor, because Jacob Elordi is about to confront that next week when Wuthering Heights opens in theaters, and we'll talk about that in terms of his chances here in a little bit. But just again, as an overview of Best Supporting Actor, this is the first time since 2022 that two actors from the same film have been nominated. In that year, it was the Banshees of Inisherin duo of Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan. This time, it's the two One Battle After Another folks, Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn. We have three first-time nominees, Stellan Skarsgård, Jacob Elordi, and Delroy Lindo, never nominated for Oscars before. One returning champion in Benicio del Toro, who won Best Supporting Actor for Traffic a quarter century ago. And then we have one Best Actor Oscar winner, Sean Penn, who's won twice, nominated for the first time in Best Supporting Actor. So again, an interesting mix of personalities we're going to see here. There's been a long assumption that Benicio del Toro is sort of emerging on the front runner, but Kevin, to your point, I think Stellan, I've moved him back up into the number one spot based on the love for Sentimental Value. And he was predicted early on. That seemed to come and go, but I'm back to him winning for this one now. I think based on he's the most likely person who benefits from the love around that movie. Any thoughts on your? Do you have Stellan back at number one?
I do have Stellan back at number one. I think the love we've seen from Benicio coming out of critics groups, he is the favorite of people who are very in the know. I mean, I think that is a lot of bubble thinking of just, that is where you see the biggest enthusiasm for this movie. It's people who have, watched Paul Thomas Anderson's movies religiously and have followed this one come out, and then seen One Battle multiple times and been like, who's actually quietly the best supporting performance in that? It's Benicio. I think this is something I talked about last week with the question of the getting it factor of how widespread is the love of One Battle. How is it working on the normie audience? And I think that remains to be seen. And I think the slightness, not in a disparaging way, I think the subtlety of Benicio's performance and the humor of it might be just a little too cool of a pick for the Academy. So I think Stellan as this really reliable story actor with a storied career who's populated the star system with two more Stars guards. I think it does feel like this could be a moment to reward a movie that's obviously really well loved at the Academy in a big way, and then honor someone who hasn't been up there yet.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I do think if there was maybe a surprise to happen, could be Jacob. I don't know if Sean and Benicio split it, and then it ends up going to Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein. I'm not just saying that to get on Jacob Elordi's good side, although if he's listening and hears that, I am. But I do think that that we could see a surprise there too. I mean, as you mentioned, though, Stellan seems to be the front runner with the Golden Globe Award and the European Film Award and all the awards he's gotten. But I was also in the room at the Critics' Choice Award, and he didn't win, and Jacob Elordi's name was called, and everyone was kind of surprised but seemed delighted by it. So I think this category is still a little bit more up for grabs than Best Actress.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think certainly the vote splitting thing is always the issue when you have two actors nominated in the same film. You always can sort of chalk that up to if someone else emerges, it's maybe because that double nomination is the issue. Although honestly, it seems like Sean Penn is a fairly distant second at this point to Benicio. So I don't know how many votes would really be going to him, which is again very funny because when One Battle debuted, all the talk was around Sean Penn because it is such a big performance, such a bold performance. But I think part of it is he didn't seem to put himself out there on the campaign trail. I think his Golden Globes appearance was his first major appearance on behalf of the film. Otherwise, he's mostly avoided the trail for whatever reason, one reason or another. But I think that certainly seems to have hurt his chances along the way.
He's also playing just the embodiment of everything that's terrible right now. So it's not a good it's not a good position to be taking for a popularity contest. But yeah, it is a wonderful performance.
It's telling too when your characters you're going up against someone playing the creature and you're still the bad guy.
A lot more humanity in the creature.
Yeah, exactly.
And I should say on the Elordi front, I have seen Wuthering Heights. I'm embargoed from saying too much about it, but I can at least say it's no Norbit. It's not going to, if anything kills Jacob Elordi's chances, it's not this film. And in some ways, it dovetails really nicely into Frankenstein because there is an emphasis on how he plays Heathcliff as a monster in this film. There is a monsterish side to his performance that is in kinship with what he does in Frankenstein, just without all the prosthetics and the makeup and everything in his face. He gets to be naturally monstrous. But it's a good reminder. I think when this film comes out, it's going to be a huge hit. It's already tracking to do very well, and I think it's going to be a vivid reminder as people are voting about Elordi's specific talents and attributes, and it could lead people to want to revisit Frankenstein and be impressed again by his performance. So I think that performance of his really caught a lot of people off guard, even on the film festival circuit, where the film had some mixed reactions. Everyone was very effusive in their praise for Jacob Elordi, as determined, because he's very, very good in the movie. He's a breakout performance in that film for sure.
Along the same lines of what I was saying with sentimental value and just the amount of love for that movie, I think the story of Frankenstein within this award season has been how it's been underestimated. And I think we have seen really strong kind of vocal support for this movie. I think we'll see that on the craft side, but I think that kind of enthusiasm is what makes for a spoiler. So it's possible here.
And we should definitely touch on Delroy Lindo, who is, again, as you said, first time nominee. People have been hoping he'd get nominated for a long time. He did ride the Sinners wave into his nomination, just passing out, I'm assuming, Miles Caton, who was also very much in the mix for his performance. It's great to see him among the nominees. I would love to imagine a world where the love around Sinners does propel him into a win. It seems unlikely, but it's great to see him finally get that nomination that a lot of people had hoped for a while. So how do you both feel about Delroy's presence, and is there any chance he's a number 2 or number 3 in your mind?
Yeah, so excited that he is there. Number 3, I don't know. It would be hard to really to see him actually getting it, although that would be amazing and deserved. But I think in this year, in this category, maybe he comes in at 3 or 4. It's hard to see who he would take out, though, Sean or Benicio. So I think that's kind of why he's in, our Gold Derby's odds, the 5th spot right now.
Yeah, the nomination alone, I think, surprised me because I didn't. It's not the kind of nomination that you typically see out of the Academy. For all of its flaws and its blind spots in terms of nominating. But I think the meat of the role it's really just a skill performance from Delroy. Like he's working on such a subtle level of just a really, really strong characterization that I think if people who love him and know why he is so great see that and just I was just enamored by that performance, but it seems like it's almost too small to make it into the best supporting actor, just because there isn't like some big speech, or he doesn't have this like kind of breakdown moment where that everyone kind of clears a lane for him to show off in a big emotional way. I mean, I think his introduction is a really a triumphant scene, but it is lower key just in terms of the scope of the movie, which is about vampires, and he's mostly talking about booze. And yeah, so I'm happy to see him get in there, but I think that just the way these things shake out, I don't know if a performance that kind of finely honed and nuanced is the thing that kind of takes the prize.
One thing that puts both supporting actor categories this year in concert is that there are 2 nominees from horror films in them, which is a rare feat. And we've called out on Gold Derby before the recognition of horror films this year has been really nice across the board, beyond just the usual sort of craft category. Seeing them break into the Oscar race is really really nice on the acting front, and so that carries over, as we said, in the Best Supporting Actress, where we have Amy Madigan from Weapons and Wunmi Masaku from Sinners as well. So those are the 2 horror leads or the horror performances in that category. And then in addition, again, top level overview, it's the first time since 2022 again that 2 actors from the same film have been nominated. Then it was Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. As mentioned before, this year it's obviously Sentimental Value with Inga and Elle, both nominated from that film. There's 4 first-time nominees among that bunch, and then 1 returning nominee with Amy Madigan, who was nominated back in the 1980s for another film. And then if either Wunmi or Amy win, they would be the first horror movie performer since Ruth Gordon in Rosemary's Baby back in 1965 to take the statue. So some interesting precedents there. I think, though, it seems like after being really enthusiastic on the Amy Madigan front, thinking she had a shot, it feels like the momentum has really swung back to Teyana Taylor. I moved her back into my number 1 spot. Amy Madigan's still number 2, but Kevin, you've been a huge proponent for Weapons. Are you still sticking by Amy for this spot? She's still in your number 1.
I do have her as number 1, but that does feel more like my my heart pick rather than my brain pick. Yeah, there has been like you said a waning momentum as after she really kind of accelerated into conversation for being possibly the favorite. I'm curious to see what happens with SAG-AFTRA. I think she has the distinction of being in the way that people could reward weapons, which was a success story for the industry. An original film, a writer director, on his second project, really being championing a, a really well respected actor who it doesn't get the shots that she deserves. Yeah, there's a lot going for it, and just in terms of the narrative, and it's like I've said it a million times on this podcast, just a stunning piece of acting. Teyana has the momentum, and it's a really bold performance, and I think she has made such an argument for herself as a true star, just on the award circuit, and she's such a personality. But I don't know. This could be a chance for a real surprise here, even if the momentum isn't there.
Yeah, I think when we talk about like Jamie Lee Curtis and Kate Hudson, these people that have been in this industry for a long time, or have, a legacy, that have been in this industry for a long time, and how that kind of plays into it, we can't, help apply that to Amy. I think I spoke to her on nominations morning, and she said, she was so grateful to all the people that have been with her this, long. And she said, I emphasize the word long because I've been doing this for quite a while. She said, I know I have friends wishing me goodwill, and that's money in the bank. So I think she does have a lot of support behind her. As you mentioned, she was previously nominated nearly like 40 years ago for Twice in a Lifetime, and I think holds the longest record for the gap for an actress in between two Oscars. So there's been a lot of work done in those 40 years, and she's worked with so many people and is really well liked in the industry. So it's completely the opposite of Teyana's, career trajectory right now, who's kind of, been doing this for a while, but just kind of bursting on the scene as far as awards and this recognition, and all that stuff. So I do think you have to take that into consideration when you think of the voters.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, none of the field outside of Amy Madigan was in Field of Dreams. I don't know if anyone is aware of that, but it's important to remember that only one of these contenders was in Field of Dreams, and that shouldn't be ignored.
That would sway me for sure.
There we go. I think they all need to star in a remake of Field of Dreams. That's what we're at here. Like they're gonna team up, all come out of the cornfield together.
Oh my God! You just said Conan's opening. I mean, that is what they all have to do. Yeah, you just wrote for him.
I'll take the royalties, please.
Yeah,
send them this way. Well, it's funny on sort of Amy sort of emphasizing her longevity in the industry. That was certainly something front and center at an FYC event out here in New York that I attended. Similarly, filled with a lot of working actors who her message really went over with them that way. When she said, "I've been doing this a long ass time. Roles like this don't come along often," and everyone in the room knew what she meant. Like when you have that breakout role, when you have an Ann Gladys type role, it can be a career changer, a career rejuvenator, and also just a welcome reminder of what it is to really put all your time into this industry and then find something like this, find a part like this that really pops. I think that really went over well in the room. So it'll be interesting to see, again, to your point, Kevin, I do think the actor awards are going to really be a big determining factor if they decide to go the veteran route or the new up and coming route with Teyana Taylor. Let's touch on the sentimental value duo. So as with One Battle, it's always hard when two people are nominated opposite each other. I would personally give the edge more to Inga than Elle in this. I think she has she's the sort of quiet glue that holds that movie together in a lot of ways, both as the character and the performance. Elle's very good in the movie, but it feels a little more, her role feels a little more standard. She plays it well, but she's the visiting Hollywood actress who, is a little more in depth than a lot of, it isn't a caricature, which is one of the things I like about her performance. But Inga is very soulful in the movie. So she has the edge if there is a sentimental upset. How do you feel in the Elle versus Inga face to face? Mia, do you have
I actually think that word you just said, soulful, is so true for her performance. It really kind of like describes everything about it. And I agree. I think that she just kind of was captivating to watch and really just captured kind of the essence of the film and the emotion of the film in a deeper way, and kind of representing, what the film was about. And, it did have kind of a more quiet performance, but was, like you said, very soulful. And I think had a little bit more impact than Elle's, even though, obviously Elle did a great job. I do think there's a reason why, Inga's number 3 on the Gold Derby leaderboard, because I do think she just punched a little bit more with this role than Elle did.
Kevin, are you going more Elle or do you lean Inga as well?
Yeah, no, I lean in. Elle getting in. Yeah, I mean, I think because two nominees for the same movie is usually seen as pretty unlikely, and I think Elle was the bubble nominee here, and I think that's a little bit telling that it's not necessarily a judgment on the performance, but just I think the type of role, and I think the nomination is the win here.
And it's great to see Woonmi in the mix too. I was there at the Gotham Awards where she won her first award of the season. She was the supporting performer nominee or nominee and win at that ceremony, which was great. I think a lot of people weren't sure at that point in the season if she was even in contention, and that really I think did a lot for her profile. She wasn't there to accept it, unfortunately. She was, like all working actors, busy working on something else. But after that happened, I think the Sinners team really made sure to bring her over and got her in the mix. She spoke with us. She spoke with other outlets. She's definitely been more prominent on the circuit. And I am thrilled that she got a nomination because she's terrific in the movie. And again, another year, I think if it weren't for the Amy Madigan factor, she would be the horror movie performance to beat. Because again, going back to the soulfulness, she is the soul of that movie in so many ways. And it's great to see her have that profile. And I'm sure it means big things to come because of Sinner's success.
Yeah, we've been talking about the love for sentimental value, and I think in terms of where it showed up and where it was surprising, and I think it should not be sold short how well nominated Sinners was. I mean, obviously it now is the record for the most nominations of any movie ever, but down the ballot it's getting in for really really amazing work that could have flown under the radar of the Academy past. And so I think you look at things like Delroy's and Wumi's nominations, and I think the fondness for this movie, and that maybe we just possibly take for granted because of how big it was just in the culture, and it's just Sinners. It was one of the biggest movies of the year. There is a strong affinity for this movie in a way that I think, going back to our Best Picture conversation from last week, that I think really could shake out in Sinner's favor.
Yeah, any Woonmi thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with Kevin. I mean, I do think that there's tons of love for this film, but I don't. Yeah, like we said for some of the other ones, it's a great performance. The movie's getting all the love, but I just don't think it's her year in this category with this kind of competition. I think it's great that she is recognized, and that she got the Gotham Award, but I don't think she's going to get the Oscar for this particular role at this particular time.
Certainly, my conspiracy theory is the thing that she was busy shooting and why she can be at the Gothams. I wonder if Marvel Studios is bringing her back, bringing her Loki character back for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I would love that. I don't know if that was on their radar before she suddenly popped. It's like, oh, we got to get her in. We got to get her in. Certainly, we know there's multiverses involved. So, and she was one of the guardians of the police force of the multiverse in the Loki show. So I would not be at all surprised if that was like a last minute ad. Let's get Woonmi in this thing for sure.
I mean, a classic example of Marvel buying early in terms of talent. They really lucked out that their TVA agent from Loki season 1 is as gifted as an actress as
Oscar nominated. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That way, we can just add one more Oscar nominee. They've got Robert Downey Jr. already. They can just list the Oscar nominees they have for that movie. All right, well, let's go on to Best Actor and finish it out. Now, here, as a top level, we have 2 first-time nominees, Wagner Moura and Michael B. Jordan, have been nominated for Oscars before. We have a returning champ in the form of Leonardo DiCaprio, who won for The Revenant. We have potentially the youngest winner ever with Timothée Chalamet, who has been nominated before, but if he were to win, be among the youngest winners ever. And then we have a supporting actor nominee in the form of Ethan Hawke getting nominated in Best Actor for the first time. Now, Mia, I remember a few weeks ago, you blew Kevin's and my mind when you said Leo was your number 1 pick. Are you still standing by that? Do you think Leo is still your top choice for this category?
Oh gosh, because I don't know if I'm still standing by that, to be honest. It's hard for me to really think of Timothée winning for this particular role, even though I know he's gotten a ton of awards and he just seems so young. And I think the movie didn't really get a ton of love from the Academy. and One Battle After Another has gotten so much love, and so has Sinners, So I just don't have a clear front runner in this race, although I know Timothy is being placed ahead and getting all the kind of accolades for it. I could see the envelope opening though on Oscar night and it going to one of these other men. So I'm really excited to see what happens here. I do think Leo still has a really good chance. But again, I think this category is a little more open than people seem to think it will be.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top four. All due respect to Ethan Hawke, great to see him in the category, but I think there's strong arguments to be made for the four of them, and in a way that I think is really exciting. Michael B. Jordan played two people. I think again, this is maybe this is our sinner's blindness of just like of how present it's been in our lives. It came out. It's one of the older movies to be nominated, and I think we're maybe just taking it a little bit for granted. I don't know if Academy voters are thinking any differently, but that is such a central role. I mean, it goes beyond just a central role. I mean, to have those two pillars, and he was part of this project from the very beginning, as as the package that was sold to Warner Brothers. But yeah, and then you've got Leo really doing some of his best work in this kind of new persona that he's carved out for himself as this a really good, strong comedic actor, and in Wagner, a movie, international film that has really kind of punched above its weight in a year that's rife with international representation. And so, yeah, I don't know. I still currently have Timothée as number one. I think that movie is just so about him in terms of just the text of the movie, and the way you can read into it. And he's campaigning like no other. But yeah, there is room for surprise here.
It's interesting to that point, Kevin, because the movie is so much about him, and it's true. But it seems like also even more than the other contenders this year, it's the vote is almost a referendum not just on him as a performance, but him as a personality. It feels like a lot of the conversation around Timothée Chalamet is about his sort of off-screen activities and who he represents, and is he the last movie star, and it is how is he being in the public eye? Is it too distracting that he's dating a Kardashian? I don't feel like that's conversations that's really necessary surrounding the other contenders, where it is more focused on the performance. Is that going to help or hurt the fact that there's such a microscope on every little thing he does beyond the movie itself?
I mean, then I think you're kind of leading us into the conversation that is probably the most important contextual conversation around his nomination, is that he would be a very young winner. He'd be the second youngest winner ever in Best Actor. And I think that what you're talking about is just kind of comes with the territory of being a young male star, and there are even fewer of those now than there have been throughout the history of the Oscars. And I think the attention kind of just has compounded more than anything. A pitch to Academy members who don't like him: maybe you get rid of Timothée Chalamet by giving him an Oscar. Maybe he won't be in your face so much. You give him one Oscar, and maybe he'll chill out a little bit.
He'll want more. He'll want more. I don't think so.
Situation, just give him the Oscar and let him go.
I think it's a completely awards worthy performance. I think he's my number one. I wouldn't bat an eye to vote for him myself. But if you have a Timothée Chalamet problem, I think there's a really good solution here.
It is interesting, though, how he really is leaning into that that we were speaking about, instead of, coming to a premiere in a suit and being low key and not bringing his girlfriend. And, he's doing the opposite, right? He's wearing bright orange in matching outfits with his girlfriend and making sure, instead of being under a microscope, he is under a spotlight. He is really welcoming all the attention. And, I think he went to Brazil and was dancing on stage and really leading a different campaign than, say, Leonardo DiCaprio, who is coming to these events and, is very buttoned down and wearing a suit. And, it's just,
he's being dragged. Leonardo DiCaprio is being dragged.
Or even Michael B. Jordan, who's equally as young, he's young too, maybe not equally as young, but he's young too. And he's also just, Timothy's got a totally different style than the rest of these 4 nominees.
Well, I guess the youth always talk about having to be authentic, right? So Timothée Chalamet is leaning into the authentic representation of himself in the media. He feels like he can't let that go and suddenly become the sort of quiet, introspective actor type, even if that's maybe who he is in private. His public personality is very different, and so he has to maintain that authenticity that people love him for. And so certainly among the young moviegoers who've driven Marty Supreme to huge success. It's the biggest hit in A24's history. I definitely didn't think it would resonate in the way it has. So it's clear he's tapped into something and he recognizes that and is definitely playing into it. He doesn't seem to mind.
Yeah, I think the most authentic out of the 5 of them was Ethan Hawke, right? Like he's just, Ethan Hawke is Ethan Hawke. Like he's, his own guy and just like a cool dude.
Absolutely. And again, who grew up in the industry. He was in Explorers 40 years ago. He came up Dead Poets Society. He's grown up on camera. I would love to see, I know Timothée Chalamet has had his conversations with Leo over the years about advice, but I think he should go to Ethan Hawke and really, I'm sure maybe they have, and they've had their dinners off here in New York where they've talked about career and everything. But I feel like Ethan Hawke has a lot of knowledge to impart to that young man on his as he embarks on the next phase of his career. Oh, yeah.
I mean, if there was a speech, if I was choosing just by the speech I want to hear Ethan Hawke's speech. That guy, if someone I can't take credit for this, but the saying of all the male personalities in Hollywood in and around entertainment who have a podcast, Ethan Hawke does not, and maybe should. He's a really intelligent guy. The way he speaks about entertainment, I think, is always really kind of engaging and honest. He would give a hell of a speech. So there's that to consider.
Right, 100%. And let's definitely touch on Wagner Moura. He is actually our number 2 on the Gold Derby leaderboards, thanks to all those Brazilian voters. We see you, Brazilians. We appreciate your input. But how realistic is he as a number 2 in your minds? Certainly there's a lot of excitement around the film, around his performance. Carrie Coon and Tracy Letts, when I spoke with them about Bug, they were praising him to the sky. So he's got a fan base. Do you think he is? Kevin, you're a huge fan of the film. Do you think is he your number 2? Is he the one?
Yeah, he is my number 2, and it's not too much of a spoiler, but Michael B. Jordan isn't the only one playing 2 characters in this list. It's a wonderful performance. I think I've talked a lot about Hamnet being this kind of traditional nominee, and I think The Secret Agent, despite being in Portuguese, is kind of along the same line. It's a political thriller that has some really inventive storytelling in it. But it is, I think, part of the reason we've seen it do so well with the Academy and with the general voters is that it is really kind of approachable. It's a genre people know, but maybe a pocket of history that these people in America are not as familiar with. And he gives a really kind of emotional performance that it's just going to resonate with people right now. And he's someone who's been showing up and more and more of what people see. I know people have seen Narcos. He is kind of quietly built this steady base of work. Civil War was a big hit, and it's a really, really strong couple of performances.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that worries me a little bit about him is just that, I think One Battle After Another has gotten so much love across the board, and for Paul Thomas Anderson. So that's the only reason I could kind of see. I have Leonardo DiCaprio a little bit higher up than him because the love for the film has been so strong. I think his performance was amazing, and I do think he is a close number 2 or 3.
I also have Leo at my number 2. I actually have Ethan Hawke at number 3. Speaking of good old Ethan, maybe it's just a solidarity as a fellow Ethan.
Okay, I see right through.
But I do think like he also has that longevity in the industry, and people that movie has really taken off with people. And I think in this last month, as people are catching up with things, and if they haven't seen Blue Moon yet, it plays very nicely on the small screen. And I think it could definitely help his voice his chances a little bit over Wagner, who's a fresh face on the scene, and that's exciting. But I think it feels like this category, the exciting new face, new in quotes, is Timothée Chalamet, and then otherwise the alternatives are the two longtime veterans in the form of Leo or Ethan Hawke. Yeah, but that's where the acting races stand, with about a month to go now until the Academy Awards are held. So thanks for listening. Thanks for following along. Thanks for keep on reading what's coming up on Gold Derby. We'll have more analysis, more breakdowns heading into the final stretch of the Phase 2 awards campaign. And we'll be back next week on Awards Magnet with more to talk about. Feel free in the meantime to send us your voicemails, your thoughts, your opinions on your favorite Ethan Hawke film to awardsmagnet@goldderby.com. And we'll be back speaking to you soon. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet, Gold Derby podcast. Like what you heard? Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Awards Magnet is produced by Andrew Merrill. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sakura. Please like and subscribe to stay on top of all the awards news, and email us at awardsmagnet@goldderby.com.